Hi guys, it's Alicia here with my work basket. I have today for you what is the final installment of my Card a Day in June challenge cards. So for the month of June, I did an Instagram challenge where you post a new card on your Instagram page every single day. I honestly did not think I could manage to stick with it, partly because cards are not the only thing that I really do. I do all kinds of crafts, and so to make like 30 of the same thing was kind of a challenge in itself. And then also because I don't usually stick with anything that long, to be honest. I switch around a lot. 30 days for me is a long time to work on the same thing and stick with the challenge. So I'm really proud of the fact that I did it, but I managed to do it. Most of the rest of the month, I did a weekly video where what I did was I sat down every weekend, I made my cards, I took pictures of my cards, I videoed my cards, and most of those are up on YouTube already. The last full week of June and the final few days of June, I didn't have a chance to record those before I went away for a quick vacation. And so all of those are going to be in this video. So what I did was I literally made, like you can see, I made a note for when I came back, video these. So these are the ones that I made for the final few days of June. I cannot guarantee exactly which ones of these were up on Instagram because I did make one or two extras. And then I was posting while I was on vacation and like randomly grabbing one that I hadn't posted yet. But so these should be on my Instagram. And I'll go through and I'll tell you a little bit about each one and how it was done and talk about that. So, one thing I did for a bunch of my end of the month a bunch of my end of the month cards was I took a full size canvas that I had laying around that I hated, that had been waiting to be repainted, and I tore it up, I cut it up, I made different pieces to do things with. This piece actually is going to be a book cover that I'm going to hand make a journal and put that on there. So a bunch of them are made with pieces of scrap canvas. So this is a painting that I did at some time and I kind of just hated the entire painting. It was waiting for me to paint over it. And what I did was I cut and tore the painting into smaller sections that just kind of had some visual interest. This one I added a little stamp. Looks like it got smeared at some point, unfortunately. It says, "Enjoy your day." This is a Stampin' Up! Stamp from about 2006. And then in the center and over here in the corner, I did another little thing. And I don't think I did anything inside of this one. Some of them I did. Nope. And I sewed the design on with a zigzag stitch on my sewing machine. And you can see one neat thing about this canvas is that there is a lot of texture. I think that it was like a thick oil paint that I did these with. So it just has some neat texture to that card. Toss that over there in the corner. So this one was actually kind of done with some scrap as I was finishing up. Unfortunately, it looks like it didn't age well. I don't know if it shows on camera, but there's some discoloration around here. I'm not sure what I might have done that caused that. But I had cut out this fish for a project I was working on. And then I decided I took that project in a completely different direction. That's actually this one over here. And so I had this really cute fish and I was like, I really want to use it. So I made this little mini card. This fish was cut out just a full-size piece of paper that had patterned fish all over it. And I cut out his little bubbles. And then I had this die cut hello that I decided to glue on there like seaweed. And it just made this cute little mini card. Even the yellow paper is actually scrap. If I open it, you can see that it has score lines because it was the edge of an explosion card. And I was like, why not, you know? Chances are I'll give this to my son as just a little pick-me-up or one of my students one day. And honestly, if you're quibbling over lines like that when somebody gives you a handmade card, I don't know if you're my kind of person. So, these were a free printable from, I hope I get this right, I'll link to it in the comments. It's a free printable from Making Cards magazine, I believe. Making Cards and Papercrafts magazine. It's a British magazine, but this was a free download where you could get a bunch of these little digital beach huts and matching paper. So I cut out the beach hut. I added some scrap not scrap. It was some torn paper. It was a scrap because I used the same paper on another card, but I have a whole series of these beach hut cards. So that was just a printable that I glued on here and some scrap paper. And I added this sentiment from a stamp set that I have. The stamp set itself is unlabeled. I think I picked it up at Michael's several years ago, and I think it's one that also came with some stencils. So unfortunately, I can't tell you exactly how to track down that same exact. And that one's just blank inside. These clearly switch back and forth between the canvas and the beach huts. Most of them are canvas or beach huts. So this one was another part of the torn up canvas, sewn on with a zigzag stitch onto a pre-done patterned card. I also added, these are actually brads here. They're shaped like that, and a die cut that says hello. This is actually why I had the hello for this card. I cut it out of several papers kind of before I decided which one was the one I liked the best. And honestly, this could match a little bit better, but after you have like 8 hellos, you kind of just want to call it. So at least I do. So I just kind of called that done. So that's just sewn on, and then it's blank on the inside. This one was super simple. I did nothing to it besides sew on that torn piece of canvas. And one of the great things about doing this with canvas is that you can buy really ugly paintings nowadays at craft reuse stores, like scrap stores, thrift stores have them a lot. A lot of people did paint nights and hated their paintings and donated them. And I see paint night paintings regularly for $2 to $3 a piece. And when you picture it's a 16 by 20 inch canvas, that's a lot of usable canvas. So if you don't have a canvas yourself that you kind of have and hate and want to paint over, grab one at a thrift store that just has colors and stuff you like, and you've instantly got these components for backgrounds and things. And mine has oil painting, which can crack a little bit, but official paint night paintings are all acrylic. They're really flexible to do different things with. And you could easily make some cards like this. So this was just one component that I thought kind of had enough going on as it is. You could add like a sentiment or something here, but honestly, it just felt done to me. And so I called it done. One thing I did do is, I don't even know if it shows on camera, I did just a slight bit of distress inking around the very edge with a matching ink. And that just kind of made those lines a little bit more subtle on the edges. This is another one with the beach huts. I think I'm actually going to redo this one because I didn't think about it when I made it, but that right there is why I'm going to redo it. So I am going to cut this off here and attach it to a different card. The background on this is alcohol markers, and when I made it, I just didn't really open it and think about the fact that that would have bled through. And I was actually, it was days later, I was on vacation, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to need to redo that. So this was just white cardstock, and I used alcohol ink markers on the bottom to create the sand and alcohol ink markers on the top to make the sky. And then I cut and glued these beach huts, and again, I'll put that link in the description below. But these were all a free printable. I do have a color laser printer, and so I just print them on it's not a regular copy paper, it's a higher quality copy paper than what I usually buy. I can put the details for that in the description below also. It's a more expensive type of paper, but I can't think of exactly what it is. It's just a little bit thicker and smoother than regular copy paper, and I like it more for craft projects and special things. So I usually buy like one. The reams are like $15, but I usually buy one and it lasts me like half of forever. So those are the printable cutouts for the beach huts, and I just glued them on that beachy background that I drew. Here's another canvas one. This is another pretty simple one. This one's just glued down instead of sewn. As I was doing it, these pieces broke off. I did tear my canvas, and so they just kind of fell off of places like this. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to glue those on there too as a little, I don't know, a little something extra. You know, why use something like why use something else when I had these pieces of perfectly matched canvas? And I added this little stamped sentiment. And it's just blank inside on these pre-patterned cards. I will tell you, The background on this is a very subtle wave design, and I thought I had done it backwards on the paper. I was like, did I do it on the wrong side of the paper? But it's just a very subtle design. It looked like, because the back of these cards is just solid and the front has a pattern. I thought I had done it backwards. I mean, no big deal if I did, but these blank pre-printed cards were like, I'm just so in love with them now. I loved them before. I bought them to just do quick notes for people, but after making all these cards and having this box to just pull patterned paper already cut and scored, I am in love with them. I very much intend to keep them in my craft room from here on out for making cards. But so that was just another one of those canvases that I glued on. This was another one of the canvas, and you can see here, this was the corner, and I left the corner on and everything. I just liked the texture and color that it had there. So I glued that on, and then I stamped this flower design several times around the edge, and a sentiment in the beginning, thanks a bunch. The flower, I think, is an older Heidi Swapp stamp. I could be wrong. Most of my stamps at this point are kind of all mixed up out of the packaging, and you know, honestly, I usually stamp for me. I've never really had much reason to know who made which stamp I use, so most of them I just don't know. But that's an older stamp. You can use any similar stamp. There's tons of stamps like that out in the world, and it's just blank inside. Also, most of the cards at this point, I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit like, I was just glad I was sticking with it. Like, I just wanted to make what it took for me to stick with it. I was so proud of myself for sticking with the challenge. I feel like a lot of the cards got more simple as the month went on, but everything doesn't always have to be complex. I mean, you should be just as happy getting any handmade card, whether it be simple like this one or whether it be really elaborate. That's not really the point, you know? Also, I'm going to show you in a minute what's going to happen with most of these cards. And yeah, my cards are simple. When I do cards, they tend to be simple. Most of the time when I make cards, I make a pile of them, and they're not for any specific purpose or reason or person. So I just like to have a bunch of simple cards that I can send. So this one is another really simple one, and this is another one I'm going to cut across here at the top and mount onto a different card because alcohol ink. This was just a plain white cardstock. The alcohol ink did bleed through a little bit, but you can see again how I just kind of did the alcohol ink. I just did two colors. I did a really light one over the whole page, and I did it heavier in some areas. And then I went in with another one to create some of these little lines that was just a tiny bit darker, and then went over it again with the light to blend that line a little bit. And this was another one of the beach huts and a simple sentiment. I really loved those beach huts. The coloring of them wasn't really my usual style, but I just really liked kind of their doodly nature. They did have these little paint spots that, like, on some of them I was like, do I cut it off? Do I leave it? On this one I decided to leave it. But it's a nice, cute, simple card, and I really liked it. Okay, so then I don't even think this one is done, honestly. I think this one was like an extra that never fully got finished. Or actually, you know what? I want to do a sentiment here, but I didn't necessarily know which sentiment, so I left it kind of blank for me to be able to update it when I send it to someone. This was kind of scrappy and fun because I left where the canvas kind of tore off, and I don't think this one got posted to Instagram because no, it's not really finished. I'm going to do more to this before I send it to anyone. But you could just stamp a sentiment here, happy birthday, you know, congrats, whatever. There's just so much more you could do with it. But when I tore the canvas, I made a certain number of pieces, and this card came out of it. It's not entirely done yet, but all right. And then one of the last ones I did was I did do another one of these explosion cards. I have done a couple videos with this explosion board and the explosion board box. So you'll see the explosion board in my video, let's see, it's like a rant, some crafts, and an unboxing, I think is one of them. And then I also did a show-off video of how it works, and I actually made the base for this exact card and this envelope here in that video. One thing to note is that I did make a card like this for my niece, and I sealed it with a wax seal. And by the time she tore off the wax seal, it really made the explosion part hard to operate because she didn't have as much to hold on to, and confetti was kind of falling out and it was kind of a mess. So I do not suggest using a wax seal. In fact, I personally would kind of trim this off maybe with a rounded edge and seal it higher up here in general, just so you have more to kind of lightly hold. I'm going to open this up for you, but I don't want it to explode absolutely everywhere. So I'm going to try and I'm going to dump out my confetti here. These cards are really neat. I love doing them, but once you do them once, you kind of shoot stuff everywhere, and I just don't feel like cleaning up that mess today. So you hold here very delicately, you pull here, and they pop out, and it will usually shoot that confetti at you. But since I dumped mine out to save the mess, it does not. And this is another printable from that same, I'm pretty sure it's Making Cards and Papercrafts. There's so many Papercraft magazines. I will definitely put the link in the description so that you can see the exact one. But this was another printable from them. I love these funky flowers. I had originally started taking this in a different direction, and this is actually what the fish was originally from. And I glued patterned paper and stuff over all of that. The patterned paper is also from the printable because I just didn't like where it was going. And one of the nice things is you can always glue more and start over. And so I decorated the cube part with a very neutral style where you could just have this up on your desk at any given time, up on your table. This one says, do one thing every day that makes you happy. So this is something you could just have year round and it wouldn't look weird, versus if you do something that says like, congratulations, happy birthday, you know, it gets a little bit, when it's like 6 months past your birthday and you still have something up that says happy birthday, sometimes it just starts to look kind of cluttery, you know? So I like to make this part kind of neutral. And then sometimes I'm more for decorating this as like the actual card. On this, I just layered more of the flowers, and I did a simple sentiment that just says hello. So this is a very neutral pop-up card. You could send this for just about anything for anybody, but I quite liked it. And to reassemble it, if you wanted, because I still have to send this, you layer your components all up, you put your confetti in here, and after you slide it in your envelope, if you don't give it to a niece that breaks things, they will pop up and explode. I do show it in the video for the board. If you watch the punch board video, you'll see it explode. One thing you don't see in the video is that it explodes everywhere. When I recorded it, I had kind of close to the camera and it like pops up a little bit. But I'm sitting behind my camera and I was picking up confetti from behind me. So it really sent confetti 2, 3, 4 feet away when I popped open my card. So that's the cards that you most likely saw towards the end of June. I don't think there are any missing, but there are 1 or 2 that maybe didn't make it to Instagram. I'm just really glad that I completed the challenge. One thing I am going to do with a lot of my cards is I am going to donate them. And I found out that scrapbook.com does this Cards for Kindness program, and a brochure happened to come in my recent order. So you essentially package stacks of 10 or more cards with envelopes, send them to them, and what they do is actually give them to cancer foundations, hospitals, shelters, retirement homes, other organizations, and then nurses, doctors, staff members, parents, etc. can write handwritten notes and give them out. So a lot of my cards from the month are actually going to be sent to that, because frankly, I am terrible at remembering to mail things, and I will never actually remember to mail 30 cards. Like ever. In fact, several years ago, I created a system where you create a year-long file, and when you go, so like since it just became July, I would go to July's folder. I moved July to the front of the file, and it has like all the birthday cards you need for July. I think I still have cards in that file from like 4 years ago when I set up that program. Like, I don't remember to mail things. I will never remember to mail all these cards for birthdays or even just for random occasions. So I'm going to keep out a few of my favorites, and I am going to send the rest to this with little cards. I mean, with little envelopes. Some of them use custom envelopes, And so I'll either have to make envelopes or I'll keep those ones and send others. But that is where most of my cards from the Card a Day in June are going, is to Cards for Kindness. So I hope you liked following along with me as I did this challenge over the month. I'm so glad I stuck with it. I am not the like stick with it kind of person. I have no patience. So I was really proud that I stuck with it. I made 30 cards in the month of June, more than 30 actually, because I made some extras, and I'm really proud of that. Honestly, whether anybody likes the cards or not, I'm just proud that I stuck with it. So this is the final installment of the Card a Day in June cards. I thank you for watching. I hope it gives you some fun ideas for and tips for your own cards. I did not clean up before I left for vacation, and I actually that's a scrap of canvas that's like on my work table. So I thank you for watching. I hope it gives you some great ideas, and most of all, I hope you have a really great day.